It's hard to fully encompass what it's like to attend a Academy meeting. So the only word I will use is family. Every Academy meeting is a family gathering. There are hugs and daps, greetings and blessings, and a lot of yelling over each other, all right? It's not a Academy meeting if somebody's not yelling over somebody. Academy feels like family because it is about family. It's about sons, brothers, cousins, uncles, family members through blood or chosen, family members that are no longer physically with us, family members that may spend the rest of their lives in prison. For years, organizations throughout Pennsylvania, like CADB, have fought and organized to end mass incarceration. I've been on the bus to Harrisburg with a lot of people in this room right now to call on the legislature to pass common sense legislation to reform our system. I've listened to the stories of mothers, daughters, and aunts who just can't understand why their loved ones can't come home. And for years, it felt as though our allies were far and few between. But standing before you today with the governor, who is demonstrating his commitment to our cause, and finally, a Democratic majority in the House, right? That's right. I am hopeful that communities like ours will have a few more fighters in their corner. Governor Shapiro, I remember when you came here last year to listen to us. You listened as Ms. Dede spoke about how much she misses her son. You listened when people said we need to right the wrongs of our criminal justice system. And you being here today, making this important announcement of refusing to sign execution warrants, it shows that you're standing by your word. The death penalty is a grotesque relic of a bygone era. In a society dealing with so much senseless violence, the state should not be perpetuating this culture with violence of its own. And so that is why I'm here today, to applaud Governor Shapiro for his actions and to call on the legislature to do the right thing and abolish the death penalty. And when we finally abolish the death penalty, let's move on to the vital work of ensuring that no one dies in prison. Thank you. I'm going to pass it to Senator Hughes.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, Governor. Good morning. I see our colleague, Senator Street, right up front. Senator Street, good to see you, sir. Thank you. So I asked my staff to help me be my best self and pull together a lot of statistics and numbers and analysis and what have you about the death penalty and about the racial and economic impacts that exist therein. You all in this room know the numbers. You're studied up on this issue. You're not new to these conversations. In its simplest sense, and we've known this for generations, the death penalty does not work. It does not offer justice, and it does not deter. And with this coming back here, Governor, thank you, to make this official declaration less than 30 days into your administration, and I applaud you for stepping up in such an aggressive way in less than a month of your time in office. We are affirming that simple statement. It does not work. It does not deter. And a justice system that is unjust, does not achieve justice, far too many times, there's no justice served by the death penalty. And so, thank you. This is a statement to help buttress us and to move us further down the path of real justice in our criminal justice system, or I guess Ricky was there, in our criminal unjust system, all right? This affirming statement right here buttresses us, provides us the foundation, allows us to strengthen our efforts to get some kind of justice and some kind of transformation in the lives of people who deserve justice at every step. Without any further ado, 30 days within the start of his administration, I'm taking on a major, major policy statement. Please welcome Governor Josh Shapiro.
Thank you. Say good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's an honor to be here. I want to begin by thanking my friend Mayor Kenney for being here, for taking the time out of your schedule, and for your kind words. I want to thank our other speakers, Representative Krajewski, for not just being here today, but for your work on a whole host of issues. We got a lot more to do, and I look forward to doing it. To Senator Hughes, Chairman Hughes, make sure you line up and talk to the chairman about your needs after this meeting.
At the front.
That's right. I want to thank him for his leadership. I want to thank him for marrying Cheryl Lee Ralph as well.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I want to say thank you to Senator Street for being here, for your leadership on a whole host of issues. Thank you. And to my good friend, Councilwoman Kendra Brooks, who we said we were going to have a dialogue over a lot of years, and the dialogue continues. Thank you. Appreciate you very much. You're going to hear from another good friend of mine, Senator Saval, when I'm done. I especially want to thank the First Lady of Pennsylvania for being here today. This was incredibly important to me that she be here with me today, and that one of our 4 children, our son Max, be here today to have the chance to meet you and have the chance to be in this church, which is really important to me, and to hear what I have to say. And so this is church, so I'm going to speak from the heart. I'm going to tell you what's on my mind this morning. I want to just say a special thank you as well to the leaders and the advocates who are here. Those who do the hard work day in and day out, and oftentimes don't get recognized for it. They don't have fancy titles next to their names, but they do the hard work every day to kind of move things forward. I admire you a lot. We may not always agree on every issue, but I admire you a lot for being here. Thank you, truly. It's special to be back in this church. 6 months ago, I was here in West Philly to have a conversation with many of you. I didn't come here to give a speech. I came here to have a dialogue, to listen. You told me about your neighbors and your friends, and many of you told me about your families as well. And when we talked about what was needed to make our system more fair and more just, you spoke up. It wasn't hard to get you to come out of your shells and tell me what was on your minds. I want you to know that I listened that day. More important than listening, I learned a lot that day. And I spent a lot of time reflecting on what you had to say to me. I learned from Salim, who was incarcerated for over 2 decades, and then came out and dedicated his life to service to others and to making righteous change. Thank you, Salim. I listened, not here at this church, but in a different part of Pennsylvania, to Kathleen Lucas, who I want you to know your advocacy matters. And the way you conduct yourself in this process really matters. I listened, I'm sad she's not here, because I was thinking about her when Representative Krajewski talked about the hugs. I listened to Ms. Dede as well, who somehow hugged me and pointed a finger in my face at the same time.
Who's like the wife, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. More pointing, less hugs from the First Lady. Her brother was murdered, but she believes his killer shouldn't be put to death. Should remain behind bars, but shouldn't be put to death. This place means something to me because those are just some of the stories I heard and the lessons that I learned here. And I want to say thank you, because you cared enough about me to take the time to teach me. You cared enough about me to open up your hearts to me. And you cared enough about the good people of Pennsylvania to try and affect change. And so I truly want to say thank you for doing that. And so that's why I'm back at Mosaic. That's why I'm here today to have another conversation with you. I wanted to come back specifically today because last week, the first execution warrant came across my desk as governor. Under our system here in the Commonwealth, the governor, and the governor alone, has the authority to sign off on executions. Let me explain how our system works. The death penalty can only be applied in cases where a defendant is found guilty of first-degree murder. Once a conviction is handed down, a whole separate hearing occurs where aggravating and mitigating circumstances are taken into consideration before a judge ultimately makes a final ruling on sentencing, possibly handing down the death penalty. The case then goes through many, many layers of appeals here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and at the federal level. If, through all those appeals, the courts uphold the sentence, then it comes to my desk as the governor. And that's what brings us to today and why we are here. I wanted to gather in this special place to tell you and to tell the good people of Pennsylvania how I will handle capital cases during my time as governor. And I also think it's important for you to know how I arrived at this decision. Before I begin with that process, let me be absolutely clear on one point. What I'm saying today is not a statement on the integrity of any individual conviction here in Pennsylvania. That's an important thing for you to know. I also want you to know, as Attorney General, which I was when we gathered last, I enforced the law without fear or without favor, and in some cases, fought to make sure people spent the rest of their lives behind bars. The people who are on death row in our Commonwealth have committed serious crimes. They deserve to be put behind bars for a good long time, if not for life. They've been convicted by a jury of their peers, and their cases have gone through rounds and rounds of appeals. Those appeals often happen over years, if not decades. And so I speak today not about the integrity of any individual capital conviction, but to the fundamental question as to whether death is a just and appropriate punishment for the state to inflict on its citizens. I want to be honest about something. My approach to capital punishment has evolved over time. Some of you know that here. Some of you have protested me about that over time. It's okay. For more than a decade, and when I assumed office as Attorney General, I believed that the death penalty should be reserved for the most heinous of cases, that it indeed was a just punishment for those specific crimes. However, when the first capital case came to my desk in the Attorney General's office, I found myself repeatedly refusing to seek the death penalty on those cases that came across my desk. When my son asked me why it was okay to kill someone who killed someone else, I couldn't look him in the eye and answer that question. In 2018, when a gunman walked into the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood there, one of the most richly diverse and wonderful communities in our Commonwealth, and murdered 11 people while they worshiped in their synagogue. The deadliest act of anti-Semitism in our nation's history. I certainly viewed that as a truly heinous crime. And candidly, my first reaction back in 2018 was that that killer deserved to be put to death. In fact, I stated so publicly at the time. Over time, my thoughts on this issue have evolved. I've spoken to a lot of victims, to families, to advocates, to community leaders, and to my son. I listened to the families of those 11 people were slain at Tree of Life. And I was truly moved by their courage and by their grace. You see, they told me, and they told the world, that even after all the pain and anguish, they did not want that killer to be put to death. That's what they said as a collective group. Yes, they think he should spend the rest of his life in prison. I do as well. But they said the state should not take his life as punishment for him taking the lives of their loved ones. That has stayed with me. All of these conversations have stayed with me. As Attorney General, I had the privilege of seeing our criminal justice system up close as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the Commonwealth. And through that experience, two critical truths became clear to me about capital sentencing in our Commonwealth. The system is fallible and the outcome is irreversible. The system is fallible and the outcome is irreversible. I have painstakingly considered every aspect of Pennsylvania's capital sentencing system, reflected on my own conscience, and weighed the tremendous responsibilities that I have as governor. I'm here today in this church, in this place where we hug and we talk and we challenge one another, to tell you that I will not sign any execution warrants during my time as governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. When an execution warrant comes to my desk, I will sign a reprieve. But I want to go further than that. Through many administrations, I'm the 48th governor, and through the governors before me, several governors have called on lawmakers to reform our capital system, to study what changes could look like. You see, they've been open to the idea that our capital sentencing system is flawed, but fixable. I believe, respectfully to my predecessors, that that misses the mark. That's why today I am respectfully calling on the General Assembly to work with me to abolish the death penalty once and for all here in Pennsylvania. I'm very aware that there are people on both sides of the aisle, and my colleagues can speak to this in greater detail than I, that there are people on both sides of the aisle who agree with me on this. And I'm also aware that there are people on both sides of the aisle who disagree with me on this. But I believe that we need to work together on it, that we need to have an honest conversation, that we need to begin the process of not doing more studies, but passing a bill to abolish the death penalty. Pennsylvania should do what 25 other states have done in either outlawing the death penalty or refusing to impose it, including our neighbors, New Jersey, Maryland, and West Virginia. You see, I think this must be bigger than studying this issue or just reviewing the system. We shouldn't aim to fix this system. The Commonwealth should not be in the business of putting people to death, period. That is my view. And I want you to know that I believe this, not just intellectually, but I believe this in my heart. At its core, for me, this is a fundamental statement of morality, of what is right and what is wrong, in my humble opinion. And I believe, as governor, that Pennsylvanians must be on the right side of this issue. And so I'm using my authority as governor to do just that. I know that there is a lot more work to be done and a whole lot more issues on your minds and on the minds of our lawmakers who are here today. But I believe today we are taking an important step forward to make progress for Pennsylvania. I truly want to say thank you for engaging with me. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for allowing me to listen to you. Thanks for taking a chance and giving me the ability to be in this church and to have the opportunity to learn from all of you. It's mattering. It matters, and it will make a difference going forward. We've got a lot of work to do, and I look forward to continuing that work together. But above all else, I want you to know that I'll continue to listen, we'll continue to work together, and we have a lot of work to do together to abolish the death penalty here in Pennsylvania. One of the people who has been critical to me and continues to be a voice in my ear on so many issues is Senator Nikhil Saval, the person who invited me here 6 months ago and who has been someone who has set the table for me to listen to so many people who are in this room throughout time. And so I want to give Senator Saval the final word today before we close. Senator?
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Governor. Again, I'm Nikhil Saval. It's my honor to represent the people, communities, lands, and businesses of Pennsylvania's 1st Senatorial District. I'm honored to be back here at Mosaic Community Church. As has been alluded to, this is the continuation of a conversation that began last year about reform of our criminal justice system on behalf of those who are involved in it directly and those who have been pulled into it because they have loved ones who are involved. I'm grateful to Governor Shapiro for reconvening us to this space, and more grateful to him still for the changes he is driving forward to make the laws and systems of our Commonwealth more aligned with its values and ideals on behalf of all of us who make our home here. Our criminal justice system is founded on our aspirations to fairness, equity, redemption, and restoration. In Pennsylvania, where 1 out of every 3 residents carries with them some kind of criminal record, it is vitally important that we evaluate constantly whether our system meets our hopes with it and whether it meets our needs. There are many instances in which our criminal justice system falls short, but perhaps none is more stark than in our Commonwealth's use of capital punishment, a racist, classist, cruel, and utterly useless institution. A sentence of death has more to do with where a defendant lives, what they look like, and what resources they have at their disposal than it does with the crime that they have committed. Moreover, a sentence of death offers nothing to those who are grieving the loss of a loved one, and nothing to a community to help repair the harm done and to heal. The death penalty places our beloved Commonwealth in the morally abhorrent role of executioner, and no state should ever be granted the authority to put a person to death. Our communities and our residents have suffered because of this. Today we say, enough. The death penalty must be abolished. I'm grateful to Governor Shapiro for his receptiveness to the needs of our people, for his bravery in steering our state to join others in forging a different and better path, and for his leadership in calling on the General Assembly to make this path our new reality. I know I am not alone in saying the governor has an ally in me. As a senator who represents so many people who have experienced harm with no restoration, I know that we can and must do better. I look forward to responding to his call. Thank you all so much.
the wife and son went upstairs, so I don't know if they have a meeting after that. Right on the money. But